Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Harry Fling Wrestling. I am your host, Harry Fling. And today's topic is going to be a follow-up to the last video. We were talking about some of the greatest, or some of my favorite, play-by-play announcers and color commentators. And I owe everyone an apology because I did say we would circle back to Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler and their feud, which happens to be today's topic. So, we're going to follow it up with that. I didn't realize I'd gone close to 30 minutes, and I figured I'd probably said enough for a long time, so probably getting sick of me by now. Anyways, where do we begin with this one? Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler. And this is very unusual because you don't often hear of announcers having a feud. Jerry Lawler and Taz had a feud in the summer of 2000, but that was more because they were still active pro wrestlers. Michael Cole was never a professional wrestler. He's a play-by-play announcer for professional wrestling, so it changes the dynamic. Oh, you did have that feud in the fall of 2003. Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler against Al Snow and Jonathan Coachman, but they were on the same side. It wasn't like the actual play-by-play guys feuding with the color commentator guys. So that's what's different here. Pardon me. I want to say this started, well, before we even get to the Cole-Lawler feud, we have to go back to February of 2010. ECW on Sci-Fi had finally ceased operations, and in its place was NXT. Not the NXT you know today. This was the game show format. It was taped right before SmackDown on Tuesday nights. This is NXT Season 1, and it was a brand new concept that really hadn't been done before. I thought maybe this was going to be another Tough Enough, but it didn't have that reality show feel to it, and Tough Enough obviously is something different. We'll talk about Tough Enough another time. NXT, you had 8 rookies, and many of them, it's questionable, I use the term rookies very loosely, and I'm putting it in quotes, because not all these people were rookies, as you'll soon find out. You had people that were in developmental, which was FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, and this was a stepping stone to make it to the main roster. That's what NXT was used for. It was like WWE's version of American Idol, for all you music fans out there. So we had this one pairing. Every rookie, there were 8 rookies, and then they each had a pro, which was a WWE superstar on either Raw or SmackDown. So Daniel Bryan was considered a rookie, despite the fact that he had 10 years of wrestling experience on the Indies, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, you name it. How is that a rookie to me, just because he never actually competed in WWE as a full-timer? I mean, he had that little bit match with Cena in Velocity back in early 2003. Really hadn't been seen since then in WWE. That was just kind of a one-off appearance on Velocity. So, The Miz, of all people, who has far less experience than Daniel Bryan, and I think he's a little younger than him, I think. You can look that one up if you're not sure. The Miz, of all people, was his pro. The Miz is not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he is definitely one of the best talkers, and he was getting to that point. The Miz was on the rise, so you know, it wasn't the appropriate pairing. I would have wished it was somebody like a William Regal, or who else was on that show as a pro? Like a Christian, somebody with more experience in ring-wise. Miz doesn't have the in-ring technical part down. He's okay, but he's better off on the mic. Daniel Bryan, on the other hand, it was one of the best, oh my god, one of the best damn technical wrestlers. Stealing that right from Chris Benoit, of course, but Daniel Bryan, what is he, like 5'7", 192 pounds, he could fight with the heavyweights and fight with the best of them, make them look bad. So, while he had all the greatest wrestling skills and knowledge in the world, and submission specialist, Daniel Bryan was not a great talker. He got better over the last decade, but in the beginning, no, he couldn't talk. So they kept him off the mic as much as possible. So maybe there was something to this, and it led to something better because it became a feud once the two made it their way to Raw. At least Daniel Bryan did later on. So, on that show, Michael Cole, inexplicably, started cheering for the heels. He started becoming the biggest Mike Mizanin fan you could think of from the moment NXT Season 1 debuted. And he just he just degraded Daniel Bryan. Oh, well, this guy's just a stupid loser or whatever. This was PG, so you couldn't call him anything worse. You know, oh, he's just he sucks compared to The Miz, Michael Cole would say. I don't remember anything verbatim, so I'm not going to say any quotes out here. So Daniel Bryan had to put up with not only The Miz, who was constantly mistreating him and harassing him, but Michael Cole on commentary. And that eventually led to a scuffle. Once Daniel Bryan got eliminated from NXT, it was it was the pros could eliminate their rookies in that season. And so he called out Michael Cole and said, you're a poor man's Jim Ross. And boy, did that lead to an altercation. Go back and watch it. It's good stuff, actually. It was probably one of the better things that happened in 2010, to be honest. That and Nexus. Well, Nexus we'll talk about another time. There's a little backstory on that, too. But many of the cast of NXT Season 1, they became Nexus. So that's neither here nor there. Now, on to Jerry Lawler. So Michael Cole and Josh Matthews called NXT. Josh Matthews was playing color commentator, I guess. So Cole would, Matthews would be kind of the straight man here, and Cole all the while would still be on Raw with Jerry the King Lawler. It wasn't until November the 29th of 2010. It was Jerry Lawler's 61st birthday. And as a present, he got to compete for the WWE Championship in a TLC match against The Miz, who just a week prior cashed in Money in the Bank on Randy Orton, who won the WWE Championship. Michael Cole jumped in the ring and cost Lawler the match and knocked him off the ladder. He pushed the ladder like this, and Lawler went whoop. And Michael explained his actions. I'm so sorry I did that, but I have to protect The Miz. He's the greatest superstar we've got right now. Of course, Lawler didn't believe it. Over time, Cole just became more irascible on commentary, and he started taking cheap shots at Lawler, in kind of this underhanded Doogie Hazard sort of way. So it then leads to November of 2011, and this is where things get a little tasteless because in reality, Jerry the King Lawler had lost his mother in February of 2011. She passed a week prior to his big title match on pay-per-view, which he had not received before. He earned that match in a Battle Royal on Raw. This is Elimination Chamber of 2011. Lawler lost to Miz in a singles match for the belt, and I actually thought they were going to give Lawler the benefit of the doubt. They were going to actually give him, a 24-hour run with the belt of some sort, and then have Miz win it in the screwiest of circumstances, flukiest of circumstances the next night on Raw. But obviously things didn't work out that way because they wanted to keep Miz champion, which they should have, because we're not going to have Lawler main event WrestleMania. No, this isn't a knock on Lawler, but Miz was a better fit for that position at the time. But, so yeah, he lost the belt. He lost the match and did not win the belt. Then I think there might have been some physical altercations going on. I haven't watched early 2011 in a long time. I was in college when this was happening, and I was watching it with friends. And actually, they were more invested in the announcer feud than half the stuff that was going on in the main roster. We all used to, cheer on Lawler and shit on Cole. So then we come March of 2011, several weeks before WrestleMania 27, we have this thing. Michael Cole sits at his own desk called the Coal Mine. It's this giant glass crypt of a box. It looks like the concrete crypt that Paul Bearer was buried in cement at Great American Bash 2004, except there was air holes so the guy could breathe. Michael Cole sets up a desk with his picture and his Slammy Award, his monitor, and, he's protected from Lawler, and then he has the backing of the anonymous Raw general manager. Doota-dink! Doota-dink! Can I have your attention, please? I have just received an email from the anonymous Raw general manager. Now, if we fast forward down the timeline, we all remember who that was, or that ended up being, right? Worst payoff ever, Hornswoggle. Hornswoggle's not going to be part of this, so we're going to leave him out. Getting back to the story, the anonymous Raw general manager stated, and I quote, "If Jerry Lawler puts his hands on Michael Cole outside of the circumstances of a wrestling match, he will be fired." So, he cannot put his hands on Michael Cole, and Cole ensured that with his coal mine, as stupid as that looked. Now we get to WrestleMania 27, and at this point, Michael challenges Jerry to a match, and in Michael's corner is his trainer, Jack Swagger, the All-American American. And Jack Swagger, coming off the heels of one of the shittiest world title runs I'd ever seen on SmackDown, that was in the spring of 2010, and he was just jobbing out like crazy. He was playing second fiddle to guys like Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston in the Intercontinental title picture over on SmackDown. So he wasn't doing shit. So Swagger's in Cole's corner. Jim Ross is the moral support for Jerry Lawler. We hadn't seen Jim Ross like 2 or 3 years at that point on commentary, maybe 2 years. So he actually got to call that match at WrestleMania 27. Now, the special guest referee was originally going to be JBL, but of course, that didn't end up happening. I don't remember the circumstances behind that. I just remember what I saw on TV. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the rightful and became the rightful guest referee for this match. So, the match happens, and it's the shittiest thing you'll ever see, and one of the reasons WrestleMania 27 sucks so badly, a match like this gets close to, 25-30 minutes, while the Core get a shitty minute-and-a-half 8-man tag match that they lose. Wade Barrett, guys like that. So, it all starts with Cole retreating to his coal mine, and he has these little air holes. He puts his hand through the air hole and tries to offer a handshake to Lawler, a little peace offering. King, let's just go back to calling matches like we used to. Let's just put this all behind us. Okay, Cole, I'll shake your hand. And then he rings his arm, because the bell had already sounded. Ding, ding, ding. He rings his arm right through the coal mine. Roll! Right up close. I don't want to break my screen, so I'm not going to actually put my face up close. It's not very attractive, also. So now the match happens, and Cole's just fumbling around. Lawler's throwing his punches here and there. And he does the fist drop. He couldn't use the pile driver. I mean, the pile driver had been banned by that point due to all the neck injuries going on many years prior, especially what happened to Austin back in 97. So, it's just a lot of shit talking from Cole over the mic, saying more degrading things. And then the announcers for this one were Jim Ross, Josh Matthews, and Booker T. Oh, I hate... Why did Booker T ever have to be a color commentator? He sucks! Doesn't have much to offer. I'm sorry, I already said that in the last video, but I said it once and I'll say it again. So the coal mine, yes. Or this match, it goes on until finally Lawler gets the Duke. 1, 2, 3, wins, but then the anonymous Raw general manager chimes in. Doota-dink, doota-dink. It's a typical iPhone custom ringer. And then Josh Matthews, of all people, reads the announcement since Cole is deemed unconscious. Since the guest referee, and I quote, since the guest referee, Steve Austin, put his hands on one of the competitors, that it constitutes a disqualification. A referee cannot put their hands on a wrestler. Therefore, the decision has been reversed and Michael Cole wins the match. Fuck, because that's Jerry Lawler's only WrestleMania match. Sure, he called a bunch of Manias, but he never had a physical match. And Lawler always jokingly said his road to WrestleMania was under construction. And yes, it was under construction all this time because we couldn't get him a goddamn match. It had to be against Michael Cole, of all people, looking back at it. It's just so stupid. I don't know how the King ever agreed to this. He's a smart guy. He's been in this business for God knows how long. He's, going to be 76, I think, in November. Holy Moses. So it just makes you wonder why they booked all this stupid shit. Now, it was entertaining because, you just wanted to see Cole get his ass kicked, which seemed like a lot to ask for. So now we go to Extreme Rules of 2011, and there's this stupid-ass, one of the stupidest match concept I could ever think of, it was ever seen. I didn't think of it. Somebody else did. Don't quote me on that. A country whipping match, which is essentially a strap match without having to touch all four corners. Now, I enjoy a good strap match or two, here and there, but a country whipping match was just using the leather straps. You could go whoosh, right on their body. Cole obviously protected himself and dressed himself up in bubble wrap so that the leather wouldn't hit his skin too badly. I don't know how much help that was to him. I haven't seen the match in God knows how long, and I don't really want to be honest. And it was Michael Cole and Jack Swagger teaming up against Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. And of course, Cole and Swagger won under the flukiest of circumstances, by hook or by crook. We go to Raw, and this is probably one of the worst things I've seen on TV as far as the most disgusting promotional tactic, which I'm surprised this angle did not win. In case anybody's wondering, the most disgusting promotional tactic is one of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards that a promotion can win every year. It's not an award you want to win. Dave Meltzer coined that term. This is Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer. I'm a big fan of Meltzer. One of the smartest guys in wrestling. What won that year for most disgusting promotional tactic? I think it was the anti-bullying campaign, Be a Star, despite the WWE promoting it, despite the fact that they're bullying Jim Ross on TV, and here they are bullying Jerry Lawler. So it was very hypocritical. So Jack Swagger, in a moment of stress, decides to book a match for Cole, which Cole was none too pleased of. A Kiss My Foot match, which we saw King of the Ring 95 with Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler. So this is only the second ever Kiss My Foot match that's ever taken place. It was the day after Mother's Day in May 2011 on an episode of Raw. And Cole retreats to his coal mine, as he always did. And he brags about how he spent his Mother's Day with his mom and showing her the tape of him winning the match at WrestleMania 27, bragging about it. Then he sarcastically asked Lawler, "How did you spend your Mother's Day?" And then he said something to the effect of, "Oh, that's right, your mother's not here anymore. I'm so sorry." Oh, it's so tasteless. I don't even want to talk about it here, but it's just, I'm only talking about it because it's part of the angle. And WWE's done some bad things creatively, and this is one of them. And so because he made that comment about his late mother, recently departed, Lawler goes back. He's like, "Oh, you fucking son of a bitch." He grabs his tie. He didn't grab Michael himself. He grabs his tie and pulls him against the coal mine. You fucking shouldn't ever fucking talk about my mother like that. Now, if someone did that to my mother, I would fucking do that. You don't ever fuck with somebody else's parents like that. Jesus Christ. When do these people ever learn? Michael's like, fire him, he touched me. I didn't touch him, I touched his tie. So finally, Cole relieves Swagger of his trainer duties. He's like, I don't want you training me anymore, being in my corner, because you made that match and I didn't agree to it. So he's mad at him for that. He's pissed off. So finally, we get to Over the Limit 2011 to put the kibosh on this whole goddamn, godforsaken, shitty excuse of a feud. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. So the stipulation was that if Cole won this match, Lawler would have to personally induct him into the following year's Hall of Fame. Now, Lawler's already been inducted in the Hall of Fame, class of 2007. Michael Cole has yet to get a Hall of Fame induction. I think he's more than worthy of it now. I didn't think so back then, but I think now it's a different story. So we get to the Kiss My Foot match. Lawler finally gets the Duke. He finally wins and makes Cole kiss his goddamn sweaty, disgusting feet. And that wasn't the final insult, though, because all these people that Cole wronged, like Eve Torres, he would always insult her in her women's matches. She did a moonsault. I think Bret Hart also came out, put him in a sharpshooter. Then finally Jim Ross comes out because all the insulting comments that Cole made about Ross in the weeks leading up to this. He pours JR's own barbecue sauce on top of Michael Cole, while Cole is in a sharpshooter kissing Jerry Lawler's foot. Oh yeah, that was the perfect comeuppance. So the comeuppance at the end, the payoff was so totally worth it. And I'm glad Cole got what he fucking deserved. And the feud was good because it got the fans enraged. See how I'm getting a little enraged talking about this? Only because, I'm suspending my disbelief. And I know it's a feud, and obviously we know how wrestling works, but, you got to have good booking like that. It's shitty because it's a non-wrestler and somebody who's way past his prime, and Jerry Lawler. So it did take up a lot of TV time for younger stars that could have actually been putting their shit out there, like Zack Ryder, for instance. Zack was kind of hitting his stride, starting to get noticed with the Z True Long Island Story on YouTube. But looking back at it, it's not the greatest thing that's ever happened. All these, 13 years? 14 years now down the timeline. 14 years later down the timeline, I look at this and I think to myself, how the fuck did we sit through this bullshit? I mean, I've sat through a lot of shitty wrestling angles in 30 years, but this one, it's shitty, but it's also kind of bittersweet in a way because you got to see another side of somebody who you didn't think had a lot of personality in Michael Cole. A lot of people thought he was the shittiest announcer when he first got there, but he really proved himself. And finally, the next night on Raw, Cole finally apologized for everything. Can I have your attention, please? Scratch that. I don't deserve your attention. Jerry, you were the better man last night at Over the Limit. I'm deeply sorry for the things I've said about you, your mother, Jim Ross, everybody else. And I've decided no more coal mine, no more making fun of you, none of that bullshit. We're just going to go back to calling matches. And they finally buried the hatchet in this, weird roundabout sort of way. And that was that. There were a couple of instances where Cole still played the heel character when Booker T was on commentary and Jim Ross would fill in every now and again. They had a silly little feud, and I'm not going to get into that. Something scary happened. If you fast forward to September of 2012, Jerry Lawler had a heart attack on Raw during a match between Kane and Daniel Bryan teaming up against the Primetime Players. In the midst of that match, Lawler fainted. I actually had no idea what was going on. Just watching it on TV, I just noticed the commentary had stopped. I knew something was wrong because Lawler obviously had to go to the hospital Cole kept giving updates throughout the night, and this is, honest to goodness, as real as it gets. Cole was almost in tears because, they really are good friends in real life, and to see something like this happen to a friend and a colleague you've worked with for so long, that's got to be riveting. So Cole says, Jerry, Godspeed, please pull through this. We obviously don't want anything to happen to you, and we're behind you, buddy. I've got you 100%. And that was the most heartfelt, genuine thing I've ever seen come from Michael Cole in a moment of distress. And finally, the heel Cole was dead and gone, and that's all I can say. But I hope we don't see any more announcer feuds, because we really should be focusing on the actual superstars, both the men and the women, not the non-wrestlers, not the subsidiary talent, if you will. So let me know your thoughts on this. I hope that clears up the story. This really deserved the 20 minutes it's gotten here. And again, I apologize if you were misled in the previous video that I was going to circle back to it. And today I finally circled back to it. So it all worked out. So once again, this has been another great edition of Harry Fling Wrestling. I am your host, Harry Fling. And until next time, everybody, bye-bye.